Jaylon Johnson interested in staying with the Chicago Bears long term? What's it going to take to get that type of deal done? Let's talk about it starting now. Breeze Nation, what's good? It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and rocking with us. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel to talk Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. So make sure you get in tune with us. Per Jason Leisure and a couple of other people, but I saw it first from Jason Leisure. Bears quarterback Jaylon Johnson says if the team made him a good offer, then the next couple of months he would take it and not be interested in testing the free agent market. Says, I want to stay here. I would love to stay here. And this puts things right back in Ryan Poles' court, right? Because Jaylon Johnson had kind of taken all the heat off of Ryan Poles because he had went out and said, you know, we won't be talking with the Chicago Bears again. We're done talking with the Bears. If the Bears want to talk to us, right, it'll have to be after we've already looked at the market, blah, 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 right? Like all of this has come out where basically Jaylon Johnson told us and told the media and told everybody out there that, listen, I'm not going to go back to the table with the Chicago Bears at this point. That's the point we're at in this relationship, but we're seeing that change here. Adam Johns actually dropped a tweet earlier talking about this. He said, I feel like we're building something special too. Especially the guys in the locker room. It's something that I don't think I can get anywhere else. I would love to stay in that and continue to build to make it better. And I think when you look at Jaylon Johnson, right, that's what it's all about. And the acquisition of Montez Sweat to me really opened things up for Jaylon Johnson in this whole thing. Why? Well, because I had questions the entire time on Jaylon Johnson as a player, not because of what he did in the pass coverage, but because of the takeaway numbers. You don't pay guys who don't have the takeaway numbers. But when you look at Jaylon Johnson now, there is no question this young man is doing everything you would need a Chicago Bear to do. He's got 3 interceptions on the season. He's been in position for a lot more. That comes with the pressure that Montez Sweat brings. Bringing that pressure, adding hopefully a 3 technique in the future. Is that going to be enough, right? Was that going to be enough to entice Jaylon Johnson to stay if you build something special defensively? Seems like it is, and it seems like this is something that he'd be open to now. That was always my biggest question, right? Was he going to get in this defense? Was he going to fall in love with it? And was he going to be able to get the takeaways? Now we're seeing the takeaways start to come Jaylon Johnson's way. Pick 6 on the season as well. To me, right, like now we're talking about a guy who you can look at with the coverage numbers, right? The coverage numbers were always great for JJ. My bad. I said 3 interceptions, 4 interceptions on the season. One of those interceptions, a pick 6. The coverage numbers were always great for JJ, right? Like I never had a question about that. I've never had a question about how he was as a corner. It was always, was he going to be able to be somebody who could take the ball away? If not, he's not going to be one of your number 1 guys. Now we're seeing the 4 interceptions. And on top of that, you're seeing the coverage numbers stay the same. He's one of the best coverage safeties in the NFL right now, if not the best. I mean, you look at the yards allowed right now, you're talking about 185 for Jaylon Johnson. Fewest yards allowed among cornerbacks under or with a minimum of 300 snaps. Michael Carter II, Sauce Gardner, both on that list. Guess what? Both guys who have a defensive line that is pretty good standing in front of them and clamp down corners. So I look at that as an opportunity for the Bears to lock up a guy who's one of the best in the NFL in coverage, now get the takeaway numbers. The big question is, how much is that going to cost you in the long run? And I think that's where a lot of Bears fans get a little bit nervous with Jaylon Johnson, right? Because he had talked about it, and I love how he said that, right? It's basically, you know, if they make him a good offer, the question on that is that an offer to reset the market? And I think we had heard on that before, right, with Jaylon Johnson, that at first when he was going into this whole thing, he wasn't trying to reset the market. He wasn't trying to be the highest paid corner because he didn't have those takeaways. But now, right, feeling a little bit different with all of that. Well, why? Now he's got the takeaway numbers to go away with everything that he's also putting in place. And so, and listen, what am I going to do? I can't argue with him, right? And when you look at right now where he was, I thought maybe he was around Xavier Howard area, right? $18 million a year. But the way that he's been playing, it's very tough to say that he's not playing above guys like Denzel Ward. He's not playing better than guys like Marlon Humphrey right now, right? When you look at those coverage numbers along with takeaways as well, everything that's going into that, and those guys they're making the bag, boys. Like they're not coming up short. You're talking about 19 to 20 million possibly for Jaylon Johnson. Does he reset the DB market? Are you paying him more than Jair Alexander? At Jair right now making $21 million a year. Are you gonna go above that? And I think here's the thing, right? How many years are you looking to go with this as well? A contract for me that I would love to lock up JJ for would get him out of basically this deal. I'd like to see something around 4 to 5 years, right? Where he's 28, 29, still young enough to test that market again. I don't want to see a 3-year deal get done here because I do think that he's a long-term piece. Let's get a 4-year deal minimum done in here. I'd say you might even, with Ryan Poles, right? If he believes in you, he'll lock you up long-term. We saw that with Cole Kmet. Are we going to possibly see something where, you know, we're 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line till his age 30 season with this thing? I doubt that's something that the Bears get worked out with them, just because I do believe that there's going to be some there's going to be some want to be able to test this market again in 3 to 4 years. But I mean, you're talking about $23 million, right? You're at 125, 130 mil plus over the length of that contract. Is that going to be front or back loaded? However they end up doing that, all right, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of escalation so that he stays kind of within the range of the top paid DBs in the NFL. But if he continues to give this output, why can't he be paid like this? And this is coming from somebody who literally said, there's no way I'm paying a DB that doesn't get takeaways. To me, he was a DB that didn't get takeaways. The pressure came. You got the pressure in there. You're adding that in. I think the NFL even looked at Jaylon Johnson's value early on and looked at those takeaway numbers and said, young man, we love you. We would love to have you be a part of this team, but not at the number you're looking for, right? And that's why he came back to the Bears. Everything was down, blah, blah, blah. I just hope that this is a deal that Ryan Poles absolutely gets done, because this is one where you have a young man that wants to be here, that sees something special here, that sees something in the Chicago Bears team that he feels like he can build upon and be a leader upon long term. That's huge, right? Because you don't always get guys going into contract deals that feel that way about your football team. You don't always get guys going into deals this time of year that feel that way about the team, that basically went out there and said, listen, if we're going to be honest, right? Like we don't believe that you are worth what you said you're worth. So you go out and you figure out what you think you're worth, and we'll tell you if that's a number that we're willing to match, right? Like that's basically what the Bears told him. Go out and see how much people are willing to pay you, and we'll trade you to that team. And he comes back. That usually ends in the manner that we saw, right? Jaylon Johnson said, listen, I'm not opening up contract talks again. We're not going to talk with the Bears the rest of the year. Boom, we're done. I like the fact that you built something here to the point that the player is reinitiating the contract talks. Now, Ryan Poles in this situation, the player is going out there and saying, you know what? I believe in what we're building here. I believe in what we're putting on tape. I believe in what we're putting on the field every week. Are there some things we need to clean up? 110%. It's ugly out there, boys. We've lost 3 games with a 2+ turnover margin and a 2-score lead going into the fourth quarter, right? And 2 of them within 4 minutes. So like, you kind of see those situations and say, yes, there are things that need to improve here. But you have a young man that's willing to go out and say, you know what? I could test the market, and he could test the market. And listen, his value went up on the market. His value went up. If the Bears are looking to do this, I do think that you probably are going to have to reset the market with him. Of course, come in at whatever you feel, higher number than what you came in at before. But come in at whatever number you feel comfortable with first and see kind of where JJ is. I mean, I don't think I'd go $25 million a year for him long term. But it's very tough to say you're just going to let a DB that's played as well as he is, even with the guys behind him, even with the Tyreek Stevensons, even with the Terrell Smiths, who's played as well as Jaylon Johnson has here. It's tough to say you're just going to let him walk out the door and get nothing for him because you didn't end up moving him at the trade deadline. You know, free agency is coming. I think that's also the reason why he's initiating this conversation now, right? I'm not naive to that point as well, right? Like, listen, it's time to have this conversation. Well, why is it time to have this conversation now? Because the end of the season's coming and I'm going to be a free agent. That works in his favor. So we'll see what it ends up being in the long run. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. Do you think that the Chicago Bears should re-sign Jaylon Johnson? At a minimum, it's good to know that he wants to be here. I'll be down there talking with you guys as well. As always, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again to continue watching our Chicago Bears content. Click the links on the screen. Check the links in the description below and stay tuned for more content coming your way. As always, man, y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bird on. Peace.